Well, I told you we were coming back, and I knew you believed me. We were coming back. Welcome to another edition of Pick Your Politics, a show that introduces you and helps you vent various candidates that are running for local and statewide offices. And that's important because you got to get to know the candidates to know who you're going to vote for. And your vote is very, very important, not only here in Nevada, but obviously nationwide, because we've got a lot going on in this country as well as a lot going on in this great state of Nevada. So you've got to pay close attention. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, along with my fabulous, I say, co-host Stephanie Phillips.
One more time.
Fabulous co-host Stephanie Phillips. And we have another terrific show for you today. We're kind of doing these theme shows, if you will, Stephanie, about the courts, about the judicial system, but that's important, isn't it?
It is important, and we have to do them because the judicial candidates are kind of left out. People don't really get to know you guys. I think maybe people are scared, or they don't have time to come out to the events, or they just say, "Oh, that's never going to affect me. I don't need to know about them." So this is a good way to have you guys on and get to know you a little bit so that the voters can hear about you.
Yeah, we don't want you when it comes to, of course, the other big races, so to speak, everybody's interested in the governor, the lieutenant governor, and, the secretary of state. But when it comes to judicial candidates, they go, I don't know who these people are. I'm checking none of the above, or something like that, or they'll put a little funny face in there.
I get a lot of calls from people. Who do I vote for? Who do you know any of these judges? I'm like, yep, I know them all.
Well, exactly right. Let me tell you a little bit before we get into our questioning about our special guest today, Suzan Baucum. She is a candidate for re-election. That means she's already sitting on the bench, folks, for judge in Las Vegas Justice Court in Department 13, where she has sat for a few years now. Suzan was first elected to the bench in 2010, and from 2019 to the end of 2020, she was the chief judge. She was the man, she was the lady of the Las Vegas Justice Court. Suzan got her law degree from the University of Idaho in Moscow. Now, I'm not talking the Soviet Union. I'm talking Moscow, Idaho. Go Vandals. I thought that would be impressive. But she also served as a judge pro tem for the Las Vegas Municipal Court and North Las Vegas Justice Court. Prior to taking the bench, Suzan was executive director of the nonprofit Nevada Law Foundation. Suzan is very active in a number of groups and foundations, and also has volunteered, which is very cool, in a number of community organizations, really too numerous to mention. So anyway, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking time out. I know you're kind of still on the clock, so to speak.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
How did you get to Moscow? How did you go to school there? Not that there's anything wrong with that. Why did you select that particular college?
Well, Dennis, we did not have a law school in Nevada when I went to law school. So we had to look outside.
Okay.
And my best friend growing up, he was going to school at the University of Idaho College of Law. And he goes, Susie, come on up here. You'll love it. So I said, okay. So I applied and was accepted. And I went to Moscow, and driving into downtown Moscow, there were grain silos, and I thought, I'm going to kill him.
You're going to go, how boring is this for 4 years? Yeah.
So and now look at you.
Yeah.
So it was definitely culture shock, to say the least, but got a great education. We had some wonderful professors.
I bet.
Made some wonderful relationships, lifelong relationships that I still have with a lot of my classmates. So
that's
it turned out great.
That's great.
So.
Believe it or not, Suzan, I was very much into tap dancing when I was a kid, and I did a lot of recitals. And just tell our viewers about your board position on the Las Vegas Dance Stars. What the hell is that? Because I think it's very cool.
So the Las Vegas Dance Stars is a nonprofit organization. The company was started by Jeremy Fulham, who owned a several dance studios here in town, and my children were trained at one of his studios, and he had and I actually taught ballet and tap for Jeremy for a number of
Did
years.
you really? Wow.
Did some choreography and other things on the competitive side when my kids were growing up and dancing. And so Jeremy had started this nonprofit, and I got involved with that too. We helped fund scholarships for kids that couldn't afford to
Yeah,
otherwise.
strictly for kids, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, strictly for kids who couldn't otherwise afford to go and take dance class, because dance can be very expensive. So we had a lot of fun. We did some great programming and helped a lot of children out in our community.
Yeah, yeah.
While we're talking about that, I wanted to ask you about the CASA program and the Lincoln House. I was reading about that on your site, and you do a lot of pro bono work and charity work and all of that. So tell us about that.
Lincoln House, I got involved with Lincoln House when I was going to school at McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota. And Lincoln House is a home for unwed mothers, where women would go who, when they were kicked out of their parents' homes or wherever else, and some of them were very young and they had nowhere else to go. And I had the opportunity to be a counselor there while I was in college and work with these women and the children, and they needed services. Some of them had to get their GED. Some of them didn't know how to care for a child. And there were a lot of services that were put in place to help these women to continue in life so that they could be good parents and go on to be successful. So I did that while I was in college, and I absolutely loved doing that. And I think that that really sparked my interest in working with nonprofits, because I went from there to the National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges, and then ultimately I spent 19 years as the director of the Nevada Law Foundation, providing legal services for abused women and kids and senior citizens in our community.
That's great. I'm sure a former neighbor of mine, you probably know Nancy Seda,
Yes.
who's very involved in CASA, and
Yes.
just a fantastic thing. One of the biggest issues, Susan, I think with lawyers and litigants is, bottom line, it just takes too damn long for their cases to be heard. If you were in a position to change that, what's one or two of the things that you think you could do that would help that situation?
Well, in Las Vegas Justice Court, Dennis, we have a lot of cases. We are the busiest court in the entire state of Nevada, and one of the busiest in the United States. Part of that is because of our community, the gaming, the transient nature of the community. And so we have a lot of people that come before the Las Vegas Justice Court. We've made a lot of strides in getting people through the court system a lot quicker. For example, the initial appearance court was started about 5 years ago, where individuals that are arrested for a misdemeanor felony, for a crime, are seen by a judge within about 12 hours of arrest. Whereas before, it might be 72 hours before they actually got in front of a live judge. They would have a paper review, but now we see them within about 12 hours. So we've really made some great strides with moving things through the court system. Of course, the pandemic, like everything else, created a backlog. Las Vegas Justice Court, we were still open, at least for the criminal aspects of it, because those people had to be seen, under the Constitution within a very short period of time. So we were able to still move cases along. Our traffic division, of course, was shut down, which created a backlog, but we're addressing that now every day. We have a new traffic program that's working. We have enough staff to help move things through the process. Civil, we have a ton of civil cases, thousands and thousands that are filed, every year. And in January, we're going to go, Las Vegas Justice Court will have 3 civil judges handling the civil caseload, as opposed to 2, which is what we've had for the last number of years. And so that will really help.
That's going to help.
We also take a look at our caseload. We changed things up a little bit. At one point in time, we only had 1 domestic violence judge, but we had 2 DUI judges. And when case numbers fluctuated a little bit, DVs went up, DUIs went down, then 2 judges were assigned to do domestic violence and 1 over the DUI court. And I did that for 10 years. I presided over that court. But you have to stay on task. You have to hold attorneys accountable, because a lot of times you have to appoint an attorney to a case, and sometimes they end up conflicting off of a case, and then somebody else has to be appointed to then hear that person's matter.
Are continuances fairly common in justice courts when you have attorney asking for continuances? And I know sometimes that's got to rub you the wrong way. You're ready to go.
Well, continuances do happen, and it can be for a lot of reasons. I mean, the district attorney's office, getting ready for a trial, might ask for a continuance because they've sent out a subpoena to an officer, for example. They have a return subpoena from the officer saying, I can't be there because I'm out of town or I'm doing training somewhere else or whatever it is. So then a case will get continued. Criminal defense attorneys have to continue cases a lot of times. If they come on a case, let's say today they're just appointed to fill in for somebody else and they have to get up to speed. So there are continuances for good cause. We try to keep those to a minimum, however.
What kind of cases do you hear mostly?
Well, the first year on the bench, I did civil. For 10 years after that, I presided over the DUI court, which was one of the busiest courts in our entire country, hearing between 200 and 250 cases every day. But in January, I transitioned to a criminal calendar. So that can be anything from trespass to murder. And we do misdemeanors and misdemeanor trials. We do the gross misdemeanors and felony preliminary hearings to see if there's enough evidence to then bind it up to the district court for a jury trial.
Wow.
So anything from stealing a candy bar to murder.
Oh my goodness, that's a big range. And then how many people do you know that come before you? And what do you do when you know them?
So having grown up here in Las Vegas, it's not uncommon. It is not uncommon to have somebody that
your neighbor walk in.
to have somebody that you've gone to school with back in the day. You know, I've had people that I've haven't seen since grade school, but I will recognize a name or, junior high or high school, and they appear. And so as judges, we always put it on the record. We'll say, to the district attorney, hey, and to the defense attorney in a criminal matter, I went to junior high school with this individual. I haven't seen him in 20 years, but if you'd like me to recuse myself off of the case, I'd be happy to do so, although I believe that I can be fair and impartial. And then I just throw it out there to them, and they're like, no, Judge,
they
we're
let
good.
it continue.
They let it continue.
Then you hear the case, and then you probably, Bob, you're still a jerk. I remember you being a jerk in school.
Susan does not say that.
I
No,
know,
she
I know.
doesn't.
Speaking of that, what, if it happens, what percentage do you're got the blinders on, you're just all about the definition of the law, or does your emotion or gut feeling sometimes come in rendering a decision?
Well, Dennis, we're supposed to follow the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely follow the law. And I do that. But I think that sometimes, for example, if you have a defendant that's in custody and you've just appointed a public defender to them, and I always say, good morning, how are you? I call them by name, ask them how their day is, because I kind of want to get a read on it, right? Just to see how I think they're doing. And we appoint counsel for them. And sometimes I have concerns looking at them. Maybe their eyes aren't tracking. They don't seem to either be paying attention or following what you have to say. Sometimes their body language may be a little different, and you want to make sure that they absolutely understand everything that's going on.
Sure.
So we have a sidebar conference. Both attorneys will come up and we'll say, does your client understand what's going on? Yeah, Judge, I think so. Or, I was kind of worried about that too, and maybe we send them up for an evaluation just to make sure that they understand absolutely everything that's going on. So I think you have to, as a judge, you have to listen with your ears, but you also have to see with your eyes. And you have to be cognizant of what else is going on in a person's life. But you have to follow the law.
Do you like people to sit in your courtroom and observe? I think some people don't realize that it's an open courtroom and you can come sit and observe.
Absolutely.
What do you feel about that?
I like people to come in so they can sit in and see the court process. Sometimes, however, we don't have room. We have some small courtrooms, and if there are 30 or 40 people in custody for that day, there might be one extra available bench and just for the attorneys. So, if we have room, they certainly can come in and watch, and I think that's a great idea. And I love when the kids come in on field trips because they get to see how the court process works, and where they don't ever want to be in their life.
Right, I was just going to
It's a
say.
very
yeah.
good lesson.
It is.
Exactly. I never want to see you here.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do, taking that a step farther, I do a lot of outreach. We were talking about my community involvement. I do a lot of outreach in our community. I read to kids in grade school,
Right, which is
middle
great.
school, high school. I talk to them about the court process. We talk about the importance of, doing the right thing, not driving under the influence. We talk about consequences, and we talk about how that all works. So, I do grade school all the way up through kids in college and talk to them on a regular basis.
Oh, you don't read to the kids in college? You
No,
just
I
okay.
I don't
they
I just
moved
want to
beyond
clarify
that.
that.
No, I have been known.
Even though in this educational system we
move
have
beyond
here,
that
you
when
never
they're
know,
8.
Judge.
I mean, I have done some tutoring, Dennis, but, and I'm always happy to do tutoring as well. But, no, we talk about the court system as they get a little
Love
bit
it.
older.
All right, let's get right down to it, Judge. Why should you be reelected over the person that's running also in this campaign that
Den-
wants to sit on the bench in your department?
Well, Dennis, I've been a judge for 12 years, and I believe that I've been a good judge. I know the law. I understand the law. I'm fair. I apply the law fairly across the board. But I also have 30 years of legal experience. So I have a maturity level, I think, life experience that gives me a little more insight than somebody that's a lot younger who has less experience.
Right.
But I've also been endorsed by law enforcement up and down the state. I've been endorsed by firefighters. I've been endorsed by all the veterans groups. I've been endorsed by labor unions, Asian Chamber of Commerce, multiple organizations all believe that I am doing a great job, that I am the best judge, the best person to continue to serve in Las Vegas Justice Court. And at the end of the day, I answer to the people.
Right.
That's true.
And I love my job. I love doing what I'm doing each and every day. I never get up and say, oh gosh, I have to go to work today.
Oh, come on.
No.
Everybody says that.
No, Dennis, I love my job. I really love what I do.
Stephanie and I mentioned it to Stephanie, you have been endorsed by law enforcement agencies I've never heard of in the state. That's fantastic.
I was on your website last night
Yeah.
looking at all the endorsements.
I mean,
You
it's
just
like
scroll.
unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bunch
We're
of-
missing a few. It still needs to.
Oh, wow.
Some have to be updated.
You need to add another page.
Need to add another page, right?
That's great, though.
But no, I've been very fortunate. It's this community is very important to me. I was born and raised here. I raised my family here. Public safety is important to me. But I think that for me, I have never stepped back from the community. I have always been a part of the community. Started doing volunteer work in grade school. And so I've been doing community service work here in Las Vegas for a very long time. A very long
Yeah.
time, Dennis.
Yeah, that's
Without
terrific.
saying how old I am, I've been doing it a very long time.
Okay, she's 43. Okay.
Yes.
How closely should you and other judges, not only in justice court but district court, work with Metro here in Clark County? How
So-
important is that?
Well, I think that there are a lot of different multi-organizational, multi-jurisdictional groups that work together, right? So for example, we have the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council here in Clark County, and that is made up of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the Public Defender's Office, the District Attorney's Office. There's a judge, the chief judge of each court sits on there. We have social workers, we have veterans groups, mental health providers. So different agencies all around the county that come together once a month and talk about issues that are important to the community,
Right.
how we need to do things differently. That is actually the organization, the group that came up with the initial appearance court, and everybody worked together very hard to be able to put it in place so we would see individuals in custody within about 12 hours of arrest as opposed to it being 48 to
Right.
72 hours.
Right.
Do you deal much with the Veterans Court?
So Las Vegas Justice Court has a Veterans Court program, and as judges, we do refer to the Veterans Court if we believe that somebody would benefit from that, the veterans that come in front of us. And Judge Harmony Letitia actually is in charge of the Veterans Court for Las Vegas Justice Court, and she's doing a great job.
What kind of cases would you, like what kind of situations or scenarios would it be that you could recommend them?
So, for example, if it's a driving under the influence, they could be referred to Veterans Court. It could be a domestic battery. It could just be a, possession of drug charge, and they don't want that on their record. They have to complete an evaluation to see if they are
Right.
A good fit for the program. And it's it's not like it's just taking a class and paying a fine and being done with it. But they actually have a very stringent program where they have to meet certain benchmarks. And once they meet those benchmarks, then they complete the program. And if they complete it successfully, then many times their case will be dismissed.
Yeah, I would think that child abuse would be the toughest for you guys to handle in justice court.
Yes, nobody likes child abuse cases or child sex assault cases. Those are always,
Yeah.
as a mom, those are always, I think, the toughest
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
It seems like with the trafficking of children and those types of crime, I mean, Las Vegas is a hub for that. And so much of that goes on. It seems like
Yeah.
the penalty doesn't fit the crime, or these people just reoffend, or they're just, it happens too much. And
Yep.
what can be done, do you think, to make that, to get rid of that?
Well, I think one, it needs to start with the legislature, and penalties change up and down. Sometimes they go higher, sometimes they go lower. But also it's identifying services, right? So if you have someone that's being sex trafficked, they've been completely groomed by somebody to go out and solicit prostitution. They don't get any of that money, and they are young girls are taken and absolutely groomed. And, as a community, we all need to look out for that. And if we see something, we need to try to identify
Right.
it, let the appropriate agency
Right.
know, because we want to help those girls. We want to help them get out of that cycle. So get them the services that they need so they understand too, because a lot of them just don't. Once they start, they can't get out. They don't know how to do it, don't know
Yeah.
how to get away from it. And it's services. It's providing services in a lot of different areas. We need resources.
Yeah.
We need mental health resources.
Yeah, for sure.
Statewide, we need resources.
Do you, I'm curious as to your answer on this. Do you think that retention rate for judges is really cracked up to all it's supposed to be? Can it come down to favoritism? Can it come down to knowing somebody? Do you think it's the be all end all?
What do you mean by retention?
A judge will get a retention rate. I don't know how often that's done.
Oh, you mean
by
the judicial polls?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for correcting. Yeah.
So there
I meant
was
to say
one
judicial
done a few
polls.
years.
Sure you did.
There was one done a few years ago, and a poll is a tool. I think just like any political poll, you use it as a tool, as a benchmark to take a look at how things should, maybe how you can do better, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. But I don't always think that they are accurate. I think a lot of times attorneys don't receive the email to fill out a poll. A lot of times a certain group will be the ones that fill them out, whether they practice in front of you or not. So I think
I was going to say, yeah.
So I think that they're good in that, but I also think that if attorneys were required to put their name at the end of it and their bar number, that they would be more inclined to, so we know if they actually appear in front of that court or not.
Exactly.
So, but they're, it's a tool. It's a good tool to take a look at and
Yeah.
see where things are.
If I got one and you rendered a verdict against me, I'm going, what, Baucum? Are you kidding me? What's the lowest I could, that's what I mean.
Right.
You know.
And I mean, that happens because somebody, especially somebody in court, somebody wins, somebody loses.
Right. Exactly.
Not everybody's always happy.
Right.
And even if
Can't
cases
be
are,
everything to everybody.
that's right. And even if cases are negotiated, they may not still be happy
Right.
with that negotiation. Not that the judge had anything to do with the negotiation.
Correct.
So, but everything, you just take it together.
Yeah.
Take the totality
Yeah.
of the circumstances
Yeah.
and learn and move on.
I asked our last guest about the whole PayPal thing that's going on. Do you use that for your donations on your website?
No,
Oh, so you don't have to be involved in all that then?
I don't even know what's going on.
Oh, well, PayPal, they've changed their legal terms
Oh.
to include
Yeah.
if you say any kind of misinformation or or what they deem as misinformation, they can fine you $2,500 and take it out of your account. So people are kind of canceling and doing all kinds of things
Oh.
right now.
No, we don't use PayPal on my donation
Okay.
link. It goes through something else.
Then you're
so.
safe from that.
I use PayPal sometimes when I'm shopping,
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah,
I'm shopping,
definitely.
but-
What have you got coming up for events? How could people get to meet you and talk to you one-on-one, get your perspective on things? I want you to give everybody your website. And again, like all these candidates, they need money because it's expensive, folks,
That's
to
right.
run a campaign, okay? So, help her out. So what do you got coming up?
maybe we should have just done this live so we could have seen what the donations were coming in. to support my race,
Call
right?
it, we could have had a phone.
Yeah, phone call in,
Yeah.
call in bank if you'd
Yeah.
like to make a contribution. Anyway, you can go to my website. It's www.judgesuzan, Suzan, Baucum, Baucum, it's up on the screen right now, .com. You can go on my website. You can learn more about me. There is a link to you can email me. You can call me directly. I answer all of my phone calls myself, and I'm happy to talk to anyone at any time about my race. And I would just say, when you go to vote, please remember it's Judge Suzan Baucum, Las Vegas Justice Court, Department 13.
Is there a commonality of concerns that people tell you when you talk to them in person?
People do tell me about their concerns. They do. I'm out in the community a lot. I'm at lots of events. I knock on a lot of doors. 2 weekends ago, we knocked on 1,000 doors on
Oh,
a
wow.
Saturday. It was great.
Wow.
So you only get out of a community what you put into the community.
How long have you been campaigning? A year?
A year.
A year.
A year.
That's like another full-time job.
It is. It is.
You guys sometimes go to what, 4 or 5 events a day?
4 or 5 events a day, sometimes more. It's
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
It's a lot of work.
But it's part of the process.
Yeah.
So, if you want to run for office, you have to be ready and willing and able to put in the time.
So you're on the bench all day
I
at your
am.
day job.
At my day
so
job.
when you go home, that's when it starts, and obviously on the weekends.
Yes. Yes.
Do you get Sundays off or no?
No. What's a day
Okay.
off?
Why should
Stephanie?
she take Sunday off? No,
was just
she's out
checking.
there.
I didn't
She's out
think you
there
had a day.
hammering.
I knocked on doors all day on Sunday,
Oh, my goodness.
every Sunday, or at church events or whatever else that's going on in the community.
And then where are you going to be for early voting? Are you going to be at certain polling places or?
Well, I don't
Do you
know,
know that
Stephanie,
yet?
did you want to stand on a street sign, holding up my signs? And
I
a
can
lot
wear
of
your
people- and wear my
t-shirt.
t-shirts.
Do you have T-shirts?
Of course I have t-shirts. I have t-shirts. I
Did
have
you
yard
get a
signs.
T-shirt?
I don't have.
I
any
didn't get a
your
t-shirt.
t-shirts.
Okay.
I don't believe
Well, you
that.
didn't ask. We
We'll
don't
have to
want to
get
just shove them down your throat if you don't want to wear one.
Boy, oh boy.
But you
Okay.
let me know what size you'd like, and I'll get you
I will
one.
call you if that's okay.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I would love to, wear one around,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I can have my flag. We'll take these.
Yeah, I want you in.
She'd be great on the corner.
Thanks, Dennis.
in my t-shirt with your flag in the background.
Yeah.
Would love that look.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Red high heels.
Yeah.
She's a flag lady, there's no doubt about it, yeah. With
yeah.
all of her stuff, she looks great with the stuff she puts on.
She does.
Anyway, so now you know one of the judicial candidates, Suzan Baucum. So when you go to the ballot, you're not going, who the heck is this lady, And that's the whole reason for the show, to introduce you to these people so you have a informed decision about what you're going to do. But like we always say, vet the candidates, but more importantly, you've got to get out and vote and make your vote count. So anyway, for the judge, Stephanie Phillips, I'm Dennis Silvers. It's going to wrap it up for another edition of Pick Your Politics, and we're going to see you all back next show. So long, everybody.
See you
Thank
later.
you.